Good morning, everybody. I hope you're not too blinded by the purple and fuchsia chairs. I'm very pleased to be here. I want to thank the organizers for the invitation. It's always a pleasure to explain where we are, what we do, and why. My name is Baeten. I work for Janssen Pharmaceuticals, which is the pharmaceutical part of Johnson & Johnson, as you may know. And I'm responsible there for the development of two drugs that we're working on to treat worm diseases, Mebendazole and Mebendazole, which I'll come back to in 1 or 2 minutes. I first want to touch briefly on the group that I belong to, which is called Janssen Global Public Health. This is a relatively new group within Janssen. It was founded about 18 months ago. And the focus is really to develop solutions, not only drugs, but maybe some other solutions as well, diagnostics, better access, etc., specifically for the needs of the developing world. Traditionally, of course, as you know, pharma companies have focused very much on the developed world, on a traditional, develop a drug, put it on the market, have 10 years IP, and gain back your investment and hopefully a bit more to reinvest in other things. This is a very different model. This will be drugs that we will not have any profit on, that we will often give away, like Mebendazole, as you will see, but for which there is a very high medical need. So this is very much driven by medical need. And I think if pharma companies take themselves seriously, I think that is the only choice we have. Look at medical need, not only there where people can afford it, but also where people need it and may not be able to afford it. So the left part of the 4 different focuses that we have, the left part is certainly today still the most important one. That's what we're traditionally strong at, developing drugs. But we're also focusing more and more on the 3 other parts of this slide, which is sustainable access, have different tiers of pricing, donation programs, helping with logistics to get the drugs where they are most needed. Collaborations, of course, this is something we cannot do alone. We have many collaborations with in development, in getting drugs where they need to be, in access, in diagnostics, etc. I think we have 50 or 60 different collaborations currently already after 18 months. And then the one on the right is very important. We're not very active there yet. We hope to be more in the future. And that is also collaborate on better education and prevention. Because often what we're doing with our drugs is only part of a solution and often not the most important part of the solution. So I think there's a role for us as pharma companies to help in a more holistic perspective. Okay, so let's kick off with what's going to be the major part of my presentation, and is the pharma, the R&D part. These are the 4 areas that we're currently working in. The gray ones I will not touch upon. So we're working on TB. Many of you may know that we have now TB drug approved. It's called Sirturo, which has been approved by many countries so far, mainly for multi-drug resistance tuberculosis. This was the first new drug in TB, I think, in 40 to 45 years, so a very high medical need that was there. We're working in HIV, have been traditionally for a long time in Janssen, since 15 years. We have, I think, now 3 drugs commercially available, but we're not stopping the effort there. So we are developing a long-acting treatment, an injection that could be given, say, every 2 or 3 months as part of a long-term maintenance program, which will hopefully increase compliance, which is often an issue. Not only in the developing world, by the way, also in the developed world. And also something that could be used eventually as a sort of pre-exposure prophylaxis. So that's quite interesting. This is still a few years out, so I mean, it's not there tomorrow, but it's something that we're developing seriously together with 1 or 2 other companies, because typically in HIV, of course, 1 drug does not suffice. And then the bottom part is to prevent sexual transmission. We are working on a vaginal ring that is impregnated with one of our antiretrovirals against HIV. We expect phase 3 results at the end of this year, so that's going to be very exciting. And that should give women, certainly in the developing world, more power, more empowerment, because that is often an issue. With a vaginal ring that is used, I think it's being replaced every month or 2 months eventually, they can hopefully have more, say, control over what happens to them, which is often not the case today. Then the top one is going to be the focus of my next 2 slides, which is developing new treatments for neglected tropical diseases, in this case, worm diseases. And there are 2 things that I want to mention briefly. Number 1 is something we're working on against filarial nematodes, river blindness and elephantiasis, so onchocerca and lymphatic filariasis. That's with a drug called Mebendazole. That's a very old drug. It's not new at all. It's been on the market for more than 30 years, both in human and veterinary medicine. However, today it is used for the treatment of intestinal worms, so worms that live in the gut. Now we want to make this drug do something it has not been designed for, namely combat worms that live in the skin or subcutaneous tissues, which is quite a challenge. So we are now reformulating it, because the drug, when you take it orally, hardly gives any plasma levels. That is fantastic if you want to treat gut worms, because that means it's probably effective where it needs to be, and it doesn't have plasma levels, so it's probably going to be very safe, which it is. However, now we need to have systemic availability, if you will, and that is quite a challenge with this drug. We have now developed an oral formulation that looks very promising. What we're doing today is animal work, so we are still in the preclinical phase. We start in 3 weeks' time, literally, the GLP tox studies. Of course, we need to do a serious battery of toxicological studies before we go to the humans. That's going to be rats and dogs. We'll have those data by the 4th quarter of this year. Also, in a few weeks' time, we'll start our preclinical efficacy work in animal models, because we also want to know, of course, whether it works there orally. We know it will work subcutaneously. So there's no doubt flubendazole is active against these worms. The question is, will it be active when you give it orally? Right? That is the challenge ahead of us. So what we want to do is develop a safe and effective macrophylaricide. That is one of the needs, I think, in this area, to have a drug that kills the adult worms and stops the cycle of replication. That is our target, not an easy one, but I think we want to aim high here, though it is a difficult target. And so if all goes well, we'll have a full preclinical package ready end of this year, early next year, and then go to regulators like FDA to get permission, if you will, and discuss the first-in-human trial. That first-in-human trial will very likely be not in human volunteers, but directly in patients. In Africa, it could be Ghana, it could be other countries. So that's where we are with flubendazole. So still preclinical, so I can't give you any specific timelines, but I know that's often in people's minds. When is it going to be available? Not in the next 5 to 7 years. So we still have a long way to go. That's an important message. Another product and disease area that we're working on is with mebendazole. Again, another one that has been around for about 30, 35 years, I think. Very related to flubendazole. There's just one atom different. They're almost identical. Has been used in the veterinary area, in the human area for many, many years. Is on the lists of essential medicines of the WHO, not only for children, by the way, but also for adults. This is somewhat an easier challenge than the previous one. Here what we're doing is developing a chewable tablet, because the current tablet it isn't large, but it is not small either. So it is okay for children, say 6 and above, to swallow easily, and we use it in mass drug administration programs. But we want to also make sure that smaller children get access to the drug, and the current tablet probably has a risk of choking, because of course it may be a big tablet for a small child. So we're developing a tablet that can be either chewed by the older ones, say the school-age children, or if you put a few drops of water or other liquid on it, it disintegrates very quickly in a matter of seconds, and then on a spoon you can give it to, say, 1 or 2 or 3 year olds. So it's the same product, but just, let's say, more convenient formulation, especially for smaller children. What we're doing there is doing a phase 3 study now in Ethiopia and Rwanda that is close to being fully recruited. There's about 250 children in there, comparison to placebo, safety and efficacy. If that goes well, and we have no reasons to think why it would not, because we know that the product works, we will submit a regulatory file early January to the FDA and or Swissmedic to get approval from a stringent health authority, and then roll it out in other countries, and through the WHO, make sure that through the donation program that we currently already have, we are, I think, this year giving away 180 million doses of mebendazole, and that will fully be replaced, that current donation, by the new tablet. So the old tablet will go off and be replaced by this chewable tablet in the period 2017-2018. Because if we submit to the FDA early 16, we'll have approval early 17, because we don't think we can get accelerated approval with this one, because the medical need is covered by the current mebendazole and albendazole, by the way. We're not the only ones who do this. So we count on a year, and then after 17 we can further develop it and register it and get WHO pre-qualification for easier access in about 30-35 countries where this donation program is in place. So that's close to being finalized. Mebendazole is still early stage. This is another a bit more details of that donation program. We're doing this through a program called Children Without Worms that was founded about 10 years ago in collaboration with the WHO, and through which the 200 million Vermox doses annually are being distributed through the countries that are part of this program. So I think J&J does about 30, 35 countries, and GSK through albendazole another 30, 40. So together we give away about 600 million doses annually, which probably targets about 300 million children, because this is repeated every 6 months. It's 1 tablet, 1 dose a day, so it's really mass drug administration in the true sense of the word. And then finally, because I think, yeah, I should be on target still, I hope. As I said, we're not only doing R&D efforts and diagnostic efforts and access efforts, but only many collaborations. These are just a few examples. On the left, again, in the area of worms and Oncocerca. We are part of the Macroparasite Drug Accelerator Consortium that was officially started a few weeks ago, literally, I think, managed by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. We're one of many partners there that help out to find new drugs, or in our case, among other things, we make available about 4,000 molecules that we have in store. We have hundreds of thousands of molecules, of course, over the years, but that may be screened for antimalarial activity. Right, so these are shipped and then being tested. We will also share, of course, all the knowledge and experience we have. We've been to the FDA already for mebendazole. We know what the FDA wants or is looking for. And that's all experience that can hopefully help also other parties that are developing drugs in this disease condition. In the middle, we are also very much part, not me personally, but people better placed to do that, in discussions with the US Congress to see whether there's anything that can be done legally to make it more attractive for pharmaceutical companies to develop drugs for the developing world. I mean, not everybody's doing it. Everybody maybe should be doing it. But there are, of course, many reasons why you would not do it, unfortunately. One of them is financial. So we're discussing different things with US government, what could be done to make it more attractive in terms of giving longer patent life on commercial drugs if you develop drugs in a non-commercial setting. So that type of thing. Still, these things take a long time, as you can imagine. And then on Ebola, of course, very much in the press over the last coming months and a year already, I guess, if not longer. We are one of the companies, again, not the only one, that are developing an Ebola vaccine. Big question today is, will we still be able to do a phase 3 trial? Because for the very good reason that the pandemic is decreasing. But we are developing that not on our own again, but with many partners. Bavarian Nordic is one, but there are many others in the US, in Europe, and in Africa that we're doing this together with. Again, an effort. We were targeting, I think, 800,000 people for our phase 3 trial, mainly in Sierra Leone. That is not something that you can do on your own as a pharmaceutical company. So that's a challenge that needs a lot of cooperation and collaboration. What I found, though, I'm relatively new in this area. I joined J&J 30 years ago, but this Global Public Health Group only 4 months ago. I find it very rewarding to be here, and also I find the collaboration is very constructive, because I think eventually we all have the same target, and that is what matters. And that's why I feel in the few collaborations and contacts I've had here already today, and also in my past couple of months, I find it a very attractive and rewarding experience. So I'll be happy to continue this effort and hopefully see these drugs come to the market or to the donation programs that they will be part of. Thank you. I think we'll take questions later, Professor, is that right? Okay. Good. Thank you very much.